Alhamdulillah, nahmadu wa nasta'inu wa nastaghfiru wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Inna asdaqal hadith kitabullah wa khayral hadi hadi Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وشر أمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. يا أيها الذين آمنوا يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم منهم المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون. Brothers and sisters, we praise Allah the Almighty. We believe in Him, we trust in Him, we bear witness that nothing deserves to be worshipped except Allah. And we bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is Allah's messenger and a servant, seal of the prophets. We ask Allah to bless His family, all of them, and His companions, all of them. Ameen. Brothers and sisters, we have a lot of work to do. It is impossible now to pick up a newspaper, a magazine, on the internet, on a blog, on the radio, except you hear some information about Islam every day, somewhere on this planet. And the implications of what we hear must be dealt with by us. We have a lot of work to do. I want to begin with this ayat that I just recited and a point that Umar radiallahu anh said about this ayat, Kuntum khayra ummatan ukhrijat linnas, you are the best of people, evolved for mankind, you enjoin the good and you forbid the evil, you believe in Allah. Had the people of the book believed, it would have been better for them. Some of them are believers, but so many of them are wrongdoers. He quoted this ayat, and then he said, if you want to be among these people whom Allah has praised, khayru ummatin ukhrijat linnas, by the word way, the Arabs, they call it ismu tafdil, the superlative. You say something is good, something is better, and something is the best. In this ayat of the Quran, Allah is saying that the ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is the best. Ummah was performing Hajj, and he saw the people rushing among each other, and he quoted this ayah, and he said that if you want to be among the praised people that Allah is speaking about, then you must have the characteristics that Allah speaks about, and then you will be khayru ummatin ukhrijat linnas. Today's purpose of this khutbah is to give you two pieces of information that you may or may not have, and then give you some analysis on it, inshallah. First of all, I want us to take a look at ourselves as Muslims. The good thing is that wherever you look in the earth, you see Muslims. 1.6 billion Muslims. And we are growing in numbers that you can't even imagine. It's true. 2 years ago, a report came out. Today you can Google this report that I'm about to share with you. The name of the report is Faith is Shifting, Drifting, or Vanishing Outright. That report said that in America, the last generation, those people who call themselves Christians have declined by 11%. while the Jews show a steady decline, yet the Muslims in the same period of time have doubled. The question is why? In Moscow right now, they're building a masjid that would accommodate 60,000 worshipers. Everywhere you go in America and around the world, you see signs of the tremendous growth of Islam. You're talking about the West? 1/3 of the Muslim Ummah live in non-Muslim countries. Where do you find them? You find them in the United States of America. You find them in France. 10% of the population of France are Muslims. You find them in the United Kingdom. You find them in Germany. You find them in Asia and Africa. Everywhere you go on this climate, you see Muslims, and the number of Muslims are growing. I was in Virginia recently. Muslims purchased 77 acres of land for a cemetery. I was in Maryland. Muslims purchased 66 acres of land for a school. We had a fundraiser in December, raised $1 million. There was a brother sitting in the audience, a Muslim, so inspired by what they were doing, he wrote a check for $1 million. $2 million in one night. I was in a city called Fort McMurray, Canada, in the West. Had a fundraiser for their project. Juma prayer raised $1.7 million in Juma prayer for their project. I was in a place called Anniston, Alabama, 2 hours southwest of Atlanta, Georgia. Muslim purchased 14 acres of land for a dormitory. Everywhere you look, in Patterson, New Jersey, the largest masjid, headed by beautiful Imam Muhammad Qatanani. He's the imam of a masjid that used to be a synagogue. Pat Buchanan, in his book Death of the West, said that in Europe, the masjids are growing and the churches are closing down. So the Muslims are increasing everywhere, but the question is why? 3 reasons. Reason number 1, Muslim women are still having children. Don't underestimate that. The Christians will tell you that God gave them a commandment, be fruitful and multiply. 17 Western nations have a negative birth rate, which means that more people are dying than people are being born. Every 2 seconds, 9 babies are born and 3 people die, except in Europe, many European countries. It is estimated, according to the trends, by the year 2050, 60% of the Italians will have no children, no brother, no sister, no cousins, no aunts. People are getting married less, and when they get married at an older age and having less and less children. I'll give you one example. In Russia, the population in 2012 was 142 million. It's projected by 2025 that the population will be 140 million, and by 2050, the population of Russia will be 129 million. It's getting smaller, and there's many countries like that. Germany, 2012, 81 million population. 2025, 79 million. 2050, 70 million. They will lose 10 million people in those short years. But I give you one example of a country that's populated with Muslims. I give you one example. There's a million that I can give you. I give you one. I choose Pakistan because I love you. 2012 population of Pakistan, 190 million. By 2025, 228 million. By 2050, 290 million. And this trend continues in every Muslim country. So number one, we are having these huge numbers of Muslims increasing because of population. Me personally, I have 9 children, and I have significantly added to the population of the Muslims in the United States of America. Number 2, the second reason for the growth of the Muslims, especially in the West, is migration. Muslims are people of migration. 70% of the refugees of the world are Muslims, many of them running from their own country. Migration. Just to show you how many of you or your parents migrated to this country, raise your hand. You look around, you see huge numbers of migration. It's an issue. Birth, population, migration. Number 3, my favorite, and I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about this. Number 3, the reason for the growth of Islam is through da'wah. People becoming Muslims. Every masjid, every Islamic organization have 2 doors. They have a front door by which people become Muslim, and they have a back door by which people leave Islam. So it's the job of the imams, the leaders, the parents, the teachers, the principals. It's their job to open wide the front door and close that back door. When you look to the front door, who came to that door? People that you know. Imam Siraj came to that door. Hamza Yusuf, Zayd Shakir, Abdullah Hakim Quick, Abdul Hakim Jackson, Bilal Phillips, Suhaib Webb. All of us came through that front door and we became Muslims. I believe that some of the greatest Muslims haven't even yet taken Shahada. For every human being is a potential believer. Every human being. And our job as Muslims is to call the people to the deen. Our characteristics, what makes us special, is that we enjoin the good and forbid the evil. And brothers and sisters, inshallah, tonight I will show you that our responsibility is bigger than you think. It's bigger than we preserving the Muslim identity. It's bigger than that. It's larger than that. That's small part compared to the task that Allah has put on our backs. And you cannot imagine how significant it is to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. That's what makes you special. So brothers and sisters, I say to you, I'm going to give you 2 facts. And those 2 facts I'm going to give you, I'm going to make an observation, and then we finish, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Now, brothers and sisters, I told you that we have a lot of work to do. Muslims are under extreme scrutiny by everyone. Everyone is concerned about the Muslims. 2 facts you may have not known. Fact number 1. I want to tell you something about our judicial system here in America. It's a pretty good one. You have to be arrested, and then you go to trial with a jury of your peers, and you have to be convicted by 12 people, unanimous jurors. Even if our system means well, let me give you the facts. And what I'm going to bring to you is not from Imam Siraj, but from the experts in the field of law. Every year in America, 10,000 innocent people are convicted. I can hardly pick up a newspaper every week except I'm reading about someone who was in jail for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years for a crime that they never committed. A man, Lopez, recently had gone to jail for 38 years, and when he got out, he sued the government. 3 days before his trial, he died. So even when you mean well, you make mistakes. Why? And the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, he taught us this lesson. Think about this great trial. Here's a prophet, Dawood, one of the greatest. Ahabbu salat illallah salatu Dawood. Wahabbu siyama illallah siyamu Dawood. The best prayer to Allah is the prayer of David. And the best fast is the fast of David. David was a great prophet. But when two women came to him for judgment, he made a judgment and the judgment was wrong. But he intended for the right judgment. He was smart, he was wise, but his son, Solomon, when the two women came and said, this is my baby, and the other said, no, this is my baby. He said, bring me a knife and I will cut the baby in half and give each one of you a half. And the real mother said, no, Allah forbid, let her take the baby. Sulaiman said, no, the baby belongs to you. It's the wisdom. The fact of the matter is that human beings, they make mistakes. And this is why the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, said, Innama ana bashar, I am only a human being. But what's the context of that statement? The context of the statement, two people came with argument. And he said, one of them may sound more eloquent than the other, and I may make a judgment on the one who sounds more eloquent. He's a human being. He's a prophet, but he's a human being, and human beings make mistakes. And this is why the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, said that Jesus saw a man stealing, and he asked the question, did you steal? And the man said, I swear by God, I didn't steal. And Isa, Jesus, peace and blessing be upon him, said, Amantu billah wa kadhabtu ayniya. I believe in Allah and I deny my own eyes. Listen to the wisdom of the Prophet. One sounds more eloquent than the other. All lawyers are not the same. You have some lawyers that's so good, they can make a guilty person look innocent. And you got some lawyers that's so good, can make an innocent person look guilty because of the skill. So even in the best intentions, you have a system that makes mistakes. And now I'm going to give you the second thing that probably none of you knew, or probably a few of you knew. And when I read it, this was a very prominent defense lawyer, Harold Price Farringer. He said, and he wrote a book, a paper called The Art of Jury Selection. He said, some experts believe, and listen carefully, that 85% of cases litigated are won or lost in the jury selection phase. You heard? Did you hear that? What are they saying? It's not based on the facts of the case, but jury selection. Why is jury selection so important? Because that juror is going to decide your fate. But that juror may be biased and prejudiced. I'm saying this. This is my opinion, that it is almost impossible for a Muslim to get a fair trial in America, even though they mean well. Why? Because while they're deliberating, that juror has in their mind 9/11, Boko Haram, ISIS, the Boston Marathon bomber. All that's in their mind. I don't usually recommend you to look at movies, but there's one movie I'm going to recommend that you go see. Even Dr. Siddiqui, I'm recommending that he go see it. It's an old movie, 1957. It's called 12 Angry Men. It's a great movie. This movie, the actors in the movie don't even have names. There are 12 jurors. Juror number 1, number 2, all the way up to number 12. And the star of the movie, juror number 8, they were ready to convict this 18-year-old Latino 11-1. He didn't say he's innocent. He said there's a lot of doubt. And when you have doubt, the legal system, you must acquit. If you have some reasonable doubt, you have to acquit. That's what you have to do. That's what our legal system means. Now, brothers and sisters, why I say all of that? I say all of that because our work really is dawah. Think about this. There's two things. There's a product and then there's a salesman. Sometimes you have a person with the best product but can't sell because they're not good salesmen. On the other hand, you got people with bad products and they sell because of their ability as a salesman. I'll give you one example, two examples, then we close. Example number one, the worst product in human history, cigarettes. Every year, 440,000 Americans die as a result of smoking cigarettes. 53,000 Americans die a year secondhand smoke. United Nations predicted if the nations of the world do nothing about it, by the end of the 21st century, 1 billion people would have died as a result of smoking cigarettes. If cigarettes is such a bad product, why do they sell so much? Because they spend billions of dollars advertising, marketing their product all over the place, and they keep reaping the money though people die. You have Islam. Islam is the best product. You would agree to that. But why so many people don't accept Islam? Not because the product is bad, but we don't know how to market. We don't know how to sell. So we have to learn how to sell. In my conclusion, there's a young group here that I've come to love them. The Sahaba initiative, subhanAllah, you have to heard about them. The work that they're doing in the community, serving the community, is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. To go out there to the people and use resources. And I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, if we do that, if we go out there to the people and show them, not tell them about Islam, but show them. Think about this. The average American may never pick up the Quran and read one verse. They may not even read one hadith of the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him. How do they get to Islam? Two ways: from the media, biased, or from Muslims that they know. They all have Muslim neighbors, Muslim professors, Muslim students, co-workers, merchants. What face do we show them in Islam? And I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, if we do our work and put resources into da'wah, inviting people to Islam, I'm telling you, the people will be lining up here by the thousands trying to get into the masjid. We have a lot of work to do. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy upon us and guide us on the straight path. We ask Allah the Almighty to tie the hearts of the believers together. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help those who are weak. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help the Muslims in Syria, help the Muslims in Iraq, help the Muslims in Gaza, help the Muslims in Palestine, help the Muslims all over the world. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته الذين من قبلنا ربنا لا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واغفر عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين.